Hey, what's up guys? Bucky here in Bermuda, just hanging out and thinking about the question of what does it mean to live your best life? I know that for me it's been a question that I've asked my entire life, is like, what does it really mean? And I've always been in the space of realizing that it's not just about achievement and it's not just about a fulfillment, it's about the balance of both, right? It's about doing the things that we want to do, going to places that we want to go to, having the careers and the achievements that we want out of life, but at the same time doing the things that fill us up. So one of the things that has helped me along the way is just really getting clear about who I am and what's important to me. I know that early on in my life, one of the things that I did is I went to this program called Super Camp. I was probably about 16 years old, and during that time I was introduced to a bunch of different things, but one of the things I was introduced to was called the 8 Keys of Excellence. And if you've never heard of them before, I definitely recommend that you check them out. If you go to 8keys.org or if you go to supercamp.com, you can check out the 8 Keys of Excellence. But one specifically, or two specifically, that I want to talk to you about today is the first one, which is integrity, right? And for me, when I talk about living your best life, it's really about, understanding these principles of integrity, of what is it that I really value in my life? What's important to me? What are the core values that I wake up every single day and help me to define who I am and help me to make decisions of who I am? It's important for me to spend time with my family or with my friends, or it's important for me to spend time in nature. What are the things that I need to do on a daily basis so that I can feel full, right? And what are the actions that correspond with those values? Integrity in a lot of ways is like a moral compass, right? It defines us. It allows us to make decisions on how to move in difficult moments, right? The other key is kind of the bookend of the 8 Keys of Excellence. It's really about balance. Like, what are the things that keep us balanced in our lives? And we talk about balance, there's a bunch of different things that we can bring up, right? We oftentimes think about like work and school, or work and play, or work and family. We think about these two different levers, but the truth about it is that in order to live our best lives, we really have to be clear about all the different things that influence us. What fills us up. When we talk about living a life of fulfillment, it's like what allows us to be full in our lives. And I know for me, again, some of the things that allow me to be full is time with family, it's time with nature, it's time traveling. I didn't realize it's probably been about a month and a half, and I just did a post yesterday where I was like, I've been feeling a little bit of doubt, I've been feeling a little bit of fear, but it's probably been a month and a half that I've been on a plane and I've traveled. And typically in my life for 2017, I've been on a plane like every 3 weeks, going to all over the planet, right? I've been all over the States and all over Southeast Asia, Australia, sometime in Bali. And it's like, man, that's such a huge part of my life. Like I was, just reflecting on in travel. It's like, man, that's such a huge part of my life. Traveling is something that totally fills me up. And working with youth and working with adults and just being in this work called personal development or spiritual development is such a massive part. And, there's parts of it which is like building courses and designing things and working with clients. And that part is exceptional. But there's a totally different thing for me to step into fully who I am and to be who I am and to bring that to the world in a different way, right? So now I'm in Bermuda. It's my third time here this year. I was just here 2 months ago. I'll be back over here in February, working with some at-risk youth. And it's so cool, the process, right? The process that they have. They have a 9-month coaching program. And the primary thing, it's like, man, that human work. You forget as an adult, and sometimes maybe you just don't realize, but there's so many people that are suffering. There's so many people that are just, we're looking at these different profiles of these youth, and they go through a questionnaire and an interview process and some of the things that come up for them. And some of these kids, just the outlook on life is so bleak, just all because of, not all because, but a lot of it's because of the condition that they've had, no parents around or bad models, and it's pretty tragic to hear some of these stories that people have at 13, 14, 15 years old. And I think back to some of the stories that I have, and I think back to, again, being that camper at 16 and what brought me into the realization of what's possible in my life and what's brought me into the space of really teaching what I teach today. And it's the core of it is that it's like, what allows me to be my best? How do I show up in my best every single day? And a big part of that, just like I mentioned before, is just getting clear about what fulfills you. What are the things that are really important to you? What are your values, and how do you act those values out every single day? And not that I choose one thing over the other, but how do I manage my time? How do I manage my time so that I'm always full in my life, right? And whether that's working out or hanging out with family or hanging out with friends or doing work or starting a business or traveling or spending time with my pet or whatever it is, like how do I spend that time every single day so that I could feel fulfilled and also be achieving the things that I want to achieve, right? It's the old cliche of like, you have your start line, which is your birth, and you have your end finish line, which is your death, right? And it's the dash. it's the dash in between on the tombstone that really makes up your life, right? And it's like, how do I spend my time? How do I spend my time to the fullest every single day? And how do I wake up with this energy to be fulfilled, to be joyous, to be happy and contributing, right? I know that for me, contribution has been a major part of that. Looking at my own life, looking at the lessons I've learned, and saying, okay, well, how can I contribute to others in the ways that I've been contributed to? And that's been one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done. So I know that there's a lot of us that know what we love, that aren't doing it. I know that there's a lot of us that know exactly what we love and are doing it. And I also know that there's a lot of us out there that have no idea, right? We feel lost in some ways. We say, well, I don't really know what I'm passionate about. I don't know what my purpose is supposed to be. And I can tell you from experience, getting clear on that, and acting that out, it puts you in places like this. And whether that's Bermuda for you or traveling the world or someplace different, it puts you in places like this where you're just, you couldn't have planned it any better. And it's what I consider God's work. And I don't know what your work is, right? I don't know what your spirit's work is. I don't know what your soul's work is, but I know that for most of us, if not all of us, we do have God's work to do, or we do have Spirit's work to do. There's something inside of us that calls to us every single day. And it may not be as clear in the beginning, but there's something calling, and we don't always act upon that, right? And the invitation is always to start acting, right? It's not necessarily, X doesn't necessarily lead to Y, which leads to Z, right? Sometimes it goes from X to Y, back to A to B to F. It just moves, right? And our job in a lot of ways is just to do the best that we can in every single moment, to be present enough with ourselves to say, hey, this is what's important to me. This is what I'm going to do in this moment. This is how I'm going to act this out, to have a level of planning that's associated. You guys like my hat? What's up, Steve? What's up, Chris? When I see you guys. This is the travel hat right here. So, but to have a level of awareness and presence in our lives, just to be conscious of the decisions that we're making, and to own it, right? And not to be fearful to do it, but to put ourselves in action. It's to put ourselves in the energy of creating who we are and really manifesting that in our lives. Like, that's how stuff gets done. It doesn't get done by talking about it. It doesn't get done just by visioning it. It gets done when you start to put those things into action. And again, what that does is it puts you in places like this, whether that's, success in a company for you, or whether that's great family relationships, or whether that's, whatever it looks like to you. I have no idea, but and that's the point, is that we all know. And if we don't, there's something inside of us that knows, and all we need to do is start acting upon it for those things to come to fruition. So just wanted to send you guys some love, just having some moments here in Bali. Again, if you guys see this a little bit later, you can hit the like button, you can hit a comment button. I'm always checking these things later and adding comments on later. And you know what, the invitation, because I always like to leave with an invitation. The invitation is, if you haven't done so already, the invitation is to look in and to look inside yourself and ask yourself the question of, what would it mean to live my best life? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that sound like? What kind of career do I have? What kind of family relationships do I have? How am I spending my time? What are the things that are the most important to me? And maybe where to start is, what do I value, right? What are the values that I have in my life? Do I value, spirit? Do I value nature? Do I value physical exercise? Do I value finances? Do I value relationship? And then how do I show up in those values? What are the actions that I take every single day or every single week that help me to fulfill those things? And as you start to walk that path, what will start to happen if you don't know your passion yet, or you don't know your purpose yet? That's one of the questions, and just to touch on that, one of the questions that comes up for people all the time is like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm passionate about, right? And it's like, if you let go of all the conditioning, if you let go of all the limiting beliefs, if you let go of all the challenges and all the stories of why you can't do the things that you want to do, and you just started to be, what would you do? What would you do? How would you show up? And if you're already kind of doing that, how are you? What do you spend your time in? How do you spend your money? What are the things that, your soul yearns for? And how can you just start doing more of that, right? Because we're all, in some ways, on a pendulum, right? We're all working towards living our fullest life and doing the things that we want to do on a day-to-day. Like, even if that's, if you currently own a business, or you're currently a speaker, if you're currently someone who's living in their passion, it's like, how do I do more of that? Or how do I do that more excellently? Or how do I do that more effectively? Like, we're always in that space. Or if you're in a job that you hate right now, it's like, how do I move from that and start to leverage, whether that's my weekends or my evenings or whatever it is, to start doing the things that I love? And we're all on that pendulum, right? We're all swinging back and forth and finding that balance, because, there's no doubt we all have our responsibilities, our quote unquote responsibilities in this worldly existence, right? We have to pay the bills. And that was, you have to pay the bills. At the end of the day, you have to pay the bills, right? And it's not about not paying the bills. It's not about sacrificing the bills for your vision, right? It's about creating both and being smart and not ignoring the fact that not only do you have to pay the bills, but you also have to live in your passion. You also have to live in your truth. And what you'll learn over time and distance is that, like, the most effective way to pay the bills, the most joyous way to pay the bills, the most joyous way to spend your dash, and the way to be fulfilled in your life is start to monetize that passion and to figure out ways for you to initially trade your time for money, whether that's in your passion, whether that's teaching or that's traveling or that's speaking or that's, you know, cooking or whatever that is, like, but then initially look to transition that and look to monetize your passion and say, okay, what can I sell, or how can I offer, or what can I gift, or what kind of value can I add to the world through my passion? And I'll tell you what, it's a lifelong journey. It's something that is ongoing, right? But it is that dash. It is what you're going to be remembered for. It is the quality of your life. It is your level of fulfillment. It is how you spend that time. So again, just want to send you guys some love. I know that you guys are doing your thing, and I know that there's different ups and downs, and I just want to encourage you guys to keep on being you, to have the courage to be you, to continue to speak your truth, to continue to find your voice, to live in your passion, to do what's right for you. And we'll see you next time. Lots of love. Peace.